Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over a new Planeswalker that has entered the vault called Jace the Perfected Mind. So, let's get into it. I want to start this off by thanking Webcore for sending me this Planeswalker so that I could go ahead and make this review for you all. So, Webcore, thank you for your continued support of my channel. Now, Jace the Perfected Mind is a mono blue Planeswalker. And Jace is pretty unique, this one, in that Jace's passive ability really enables a lot of decks that you either A, wouldn't otherwise be able to run, or B, perfects decks that you might already be running. So the passive ability on new Jace is called Completed Intelligence, and it makes it so that at the beginning of your turn, if you have less than 4 cards in your hand, you're going to draw up to 4 cards. Now, the trigger on this ability happens before your draw step happens. So what's going to happen is you're going to draw up to 4 cards, and then you're going to draw a 5th card for your draw step if you're at less than 4, which means that at the beginning of your turn, you're always going to have at least 5 cards in your hand with this Planeswalker. So it fills your hand passively, unlike any other Planeswalker we've had in the game thus far. Another thing to note that's important about just what the order of when things happen, your gem conversion is going to happen before your draw step, meaning that what's going to take place is if you have gem conversion, then gem conversion from your supports will happen first, then you'll draw your cards to Completed Intelligence, and then finally you'll draw for your draw step. So I just wanted to make sure that we had all those phases understood before we go into all the abilities and the rest of the kit of this Planeswalker. The first ability for Jace the Perfected Mind is going to create 3 Phyresis Converter tokens. Those Phyrexian Converter tokens are going to be 4 mana artifact tokens. They're blue and read, when you match a Phyrexian gem by swap, that's a manual swap, the first card in your hand without completed gains completed. This effect can trigger only once for all cards named Phyresis Converter you control. Then, if this support has the third ability's emblem, your opponent's mana bonus of the matched Phyrexian gem color is going to go down by 1 until the end of their next turn. So, through the kit of this new Jace, you'll have different ways of making it so that Phyrexian gems appear, and then if you have these tokens down, then when you match those Phyrexian gems, you're going to make it so that your opponent's mana bonuses become smaller. So for the first ability, we create 3 of those tokens, and then if you have 80 or less life, you're going to create Phyrexian gems equal to half of the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard rounded up. So if you've got different ways of destroying cards from your opponent's library, or they've played a bunch of cards, or just natural game progression, things have gotten into the graveyard, then you're going to have the ability to convert a bunch, or not convert, but turn a bunch of gems into Phyrexian gems. With that said, you do have to be at 80 or less life for that to happen, and I haven't actually had that work out for me yet, because the other abilities wind up being things that I activate more, and if I do use the synthetic expansion ability, I'm typically using it early so that I can get more of those Phyresis Converter tokens with the emblem from the third. And so I haven't personally had that 80 or less life to create X gems come in handy for me. The second ability, Corrupted Minefield, is going to destroy the top 5 cards of your opponent's library and then give all of your opponent's creatures a permanent -X/-0, so power debuff equal to the number of cards destroyed from your opponent's library this turn. Because this is a Planeswalker ability, unless you've got extra swaps in your deck or you've got a Vanguard that is going to destroy cards from your opponent's library, this is pretty much going to be capped at 5 for the -5/-0. So this pretty much just reads, destroy the top 5 cards of your opponent's library and give all opposing creatures -5/-0 permanently. I feel like for 13 loyalty, that's pretty expensive, And so this ability really doesn't come in handy unless you're running like a Pauper or Pauper Plus deck, and you just need to keep yourself alive. The third ability is really the bread and butter of this Planeswalker, in addition to its passive ability, which is called Illusion of Free Will. This ability is going to make it so that if you don't control a support named Phyresis Converter, you're going to create one, and then Phyresis cards you control are going to gain the Augmentation Emblem. Finally, you're going to create 12 Phyrexian gems, and then gain 3 mana for each non-basic gem on the board. Remember, non-basic gems are going to be things like those Phyrexian gems. They're going to be things like improved gems. So stuff like that. And so you'll wind up getting at least 36 mana for activating the third ability every single time you activate it, with the potential for gaining a significant amount more than that. I'll say that from my experience, what this really winds up doing is it fills my entire hand with mana. And so not only is Jace going to make it so that you're going to draw a pretty much full hand every turn, but every turn that you're able to activate the third ability, you're going to give full mana to all of the cards in your hand. The mana bonuses for Jace the Perfected Mind are fairly underwhelming for a monocolor Planeswalker in the present day and age. You've got +2 to white and black and +5 to blue. The +5 to blue is handy, but that's generally the highest mana bonus that you get from most dual color walkers. And so without having that massive increase to mana from blue, meaning that we get a maximum of 8 mana per match on blue, that does detract from this Jace a little bit. It's not a lot bit, but I at least find in my play that it's noticeable. Now, in terms of cards or strategies that this new Jace is going to synergize with, I feel like it really falls under 2 categories. You're either going to be able to drastically improve any form of combo deck that you want to play. If you like playing combo decks and you're able to achieve that combo deck in mono blue, then this will be the best Planeswalker in the game for that particular type of deck archetype, bar none. Nothing even comes close to that compared to this Planeswalker, because the ability to draw up to 5 cards per turn passively during your draw phase basically makes it so that just fishing for the combo piece that you need is incredibly easy. You just get rid of all the cards in your hand that aren't the combo piece that you need, and then let yourself draw into that combo piece a little bit more quickly. So it gets rid of a lot of the randomization that you're going to have when you're playing combo decks. The downside is that combo deck does have to be mono blue. The upside is that blue happens to have a lot of combo opportunities that it can use, so that is going to be very useful for this. The other sort of strategy that you can go for with this Planeswalker is going to be effects and abilities that are going to be buffed when you draw a card, because you can draw up to 5 cards per turn passively just because of the Planeswalker being the Planeswalker you're using. And so it's going to enable a lot of those cards that are going to get buffs or have extra abilities or effects from you drawing cards. I should note that there is a third playstyle option that does open up from this Planeswalker that I at least find intriguing, which is that you can completely load your deck with a bunch of gem converting supports, and then you play them all because there's no downside to you playing them. They're not a wasted card slot in your deck, because you just wind up getting a whole bunch of them down on the battlefield, and then you're converting a whole bunch of gems, you're getting a whole bunch of mana, you're getting a whole bunch of loyalty, you're getting a whole bunch of cards, and so you can make some really cool decks be a lot more consistent and interesting than you can with any other Planeswalker in the game. So I like that this Jace the Perfected Mind is very unique in that particular way, and that this Jace is going to enable a bunch of playstyles that otherwise would be suboptimal, or at the very least not necessarily as good. So if we were to look at some cards that I think are going to pair really well with this Jace in the current standard, I really like the idea of the Splashy Spellcaster plus Ovika. I think that this is probably the best combo in standard right now that you can run for this Planeswalker in terms of achieving a really easy win fairly quickly. You just want to make sure that you get to that Spellcaster quickly. The Spellcaster makes it so that whenever you cast a spell, you're going to convert 2 gems to blue and fetch the first non-creature card from your library. The Sorcerer roll is mediocre. It definitely helps with killing your opponent, but is mediocre. But it's going to pair really nicely with Ovika, who's going to make it so that whenever you cast a spell or support, you're going to create goblin tokens that have haste. And so as long as you find a way to cast a bunch of spells, and if you ideally have a way to make those goblins have a higher base power, then you're going to be able to kill your opponent fairly reliably with this Planeswalker. Other cards that I think are worth mentioning in terms of their synergy with this particular Planeswalker at the moment would be this Quasar Augur of Agonies, which makes it so that whenever you draw a card, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This makes it so that you can have it so that your opponent is effectively losing 10 and you're gaining 10 every single turn just because of the way that Jace's passive works, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, the old school Sphinx's Tutelage, which is going to make it so that you're going to increase the cost of the first card in your opponent's hand by 10 every single turn just because of the way that this Planeswalker works. So there's definitely some really cool synergy that you have with cards that currently exist, some things that you very well likely have in your collection, and so there's a lot of different ways that you can build around it. The 2 decks that I'm going to be showcasing in the video are going to be the 2 decks that you've seen me show so far. The Pauper Plus deck is going to be this one right over here. You'll see that I'm running a whole bunch of gem conversion in it, like I mentioned earlier in the video, along with some synergies that are going to go with Jace, like the Quasar and the Sphinx's Tutelage. Then you'll see that my other deck, which is going to be my combo deck, is going to be the Splashy Spellcaster and Ovika combo. So I want to go ahead, showcase some gameplay so you can see this Planeswalker in action, and so you can see how cool the passive and third really are when being played. So let's get into that. Match number 1 here is going to be up against Koth, and you're going to immediately see the passive trigger drawing me to 4 cards, and then I wind up getting the 5th card from my draw step. So I start the game with this hand of a whole bunch of cards. Now, at this point, you're going to see that I don't have my spellcaster, so I'm going to do exactly what I said in the beginning of the video, and I'm just going to start getting rid of things that are not going to be helping me to get to my combo piece faster. So I want to make sure that I get that combo piece. I do actually want to play Cut Your Losses if I can, and I ideally would like to eventually get the Otawara down, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the blue match. I know that that's going to give Koth a red match, which is more mana than what I'm getting, but nonetheless, it means that I should be able to cast my Cut Your Losses on this next turn, and that might wind up getting me what I want a little bit more, more likely to get to what I want, right? So here I've got Ovika, I've got Talent of the Telepath. I'm actually going to let myself cast the Talent of the Telepath here, just because that Talent of the Telepath is going to make it so that I can hopefully draw into... You know what? Can I draw it this way? No, I have to play Cut Your Losses first. It's just going to hopefully get me that Spellcaster. So we're going to convert gems. We're going to get a bunch of mana. This is going to help fill up Ovika a little bit. I do have the Splashy Spellcaster. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter my deck a little bit. So I'm going to take the Talent of the Telepath so I can just remove it from my deck. And then I'm going to take the Splashy Spellcaster. I know that I'm going to be drawing the Cut Your Losses this turn, so that's part of why I didn't fetch it there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have the Spellcaster come down. I still don't need Otawara. I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to prioritize having the Spellcaster come down into Cut Your Losses. And then that will hopefully kind of end the game for me. And when I say that will hopefully kind of end the game for me, I just mean that I've got my combo pieces now. It took me way less time than it would have with other walkers because this particular game forced me to fish a little bit for what I was looking for. I don't wind up getting the extra goodness. My opponent gets a red match. They wind up getting the Koth Vanguard down, which is a very scary card, but nonetheless, I can definitely work with this. And then I actually kind of want to keep the cards in my hand here. So the Cut Your Losses needs 6 mana. This is where Jace's mana gains are coming up a little bit short, just because I can't make the black match. I have to make the blue match in order to get the Cut Your Losses down. And there really aren't all that many gems on the battlefield. So what I might do is actually try to do Cut Your Losses into Endless Detour, just to get rid of my opponent's Koth Vanguard. So I'm going to give the Spellcaster the Sorcerer role over here, and then I'm not going to destroy it. I definitely want it to stay. I'm going to get rid of my opponent's Vanguard, and then I've already got the Evergreen, so I can just start clicking Not Now. Something that I've learned with this deck is just keeping my finger in that sort of Not Now place, so that I don't have to worry about that. You're going to be getting so many spell casts. We're going to do the Not Now. Not Now is still going to trigger the ability here, so we're still going to wind up fetching the first non-creature card, and we're still going to also wind up converting the gems. So I'm going to go ahead, let my combo go as long as it wants to here. My guess is that the combo's not going to go on for too long this particular turn, even though there are quite a few blue gems. Converting 2 at a time really isn't all that many. And so I would really need to get a lucky draw in order for this to win this turn. But I should definitely win next turn is my thought process here with the deck. So I'm converting some gems. Unfortunately, there is a 5 match for blue on the bottom. On the other hand, fortunately, my opponent was really nice, and they not only didn't take that match, but they then wound up just leaving more matches for me. So that's a good thing. I've got Temporal Mastery, I've got Cut Your Losses, I've got a lot of good stuff going here. I've got the Relic's Roar, so this is definitely going to be game over this turn. I'm going to have the Temporal Mastery come out first. I'm going to have the Cut Your Losses come second, and then I'm going to have the Transcendent come third. So my computer wants me to know that I've got drivers available. We're going to get rid of those because I don't need them right now. I'm going to go ahead and say, no, I'm not going to give things evergreens right now. So we're going to go ahead and just let this happen as it goes. We're going to draw some cards. We're going to go ahead and get more goblin tokens. We're going to convert more gems, and we are absolutely going to be killing Koth this turn. You will not wind up seeing the third ability in action this particular game, but that's no real loss. You'll almost definitely see it in the next game. You will, however, see how just super effective it is to get a combo going with this particular deck. It's just so darn easy to do. Actually, for that matter, I did get that bonus swap, so I suppose I can use it if the combo falls a little bit short, or just for giggles, because, why not? It's fun to make your combos do bigger things. Let's make the goblins really thick dinosaurs, because thick dinosaurs are super sweet. This is where my goblins are going to get even thicker than Galta, and, I think that Galta would find them beautiful personally, because, goblins, and they're dinosaur goblins. Which, by the way, why don't those exist in the game? Why are there no dinosaur goblins? We've got a ninja turtle. I feel like we should have dinosaur goblins. But anywho, the goblins fly, Ovika flies, the spellcaster flies, so whatever. We'll go ahead and do this. Now, I know for some of you, you're probably thinking to yourself, I don't want to have to keep tapping the screen for every single one of my my little triggers going on here. But I don't personally mind, as I don't feel that the deck here, the tapping is like too onerous. And of course, we've got a 200 power goblin. So here you're going to see the third ability. Third ability is just going to fill my hand with mana all the way. I get to play everything in my hand now. And so, this just gets super duper nasty. Like, super duper 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 nasty. We're going to play another Ovika because why not? And then I am going to let this peter out this turn, just because I have no real reason to make this go beyond this too far. I suppose I didn't need to give myself even more bonus swaps, but you get the picture. It really doesn't matter how much health your opponent has. You're going to kill them with this. They're going to lose. So it is a very effective deck. It's a deck that you can definitely play in the present standard environment. You can play it for coalition events. If you ever need to cast X or more spells, this deck will do it for you. If you need to summon X or more creatures, this will do it for you. So it's definitely going to enable those particular types of decks because, you're looping, and looping makes those particular things easy. So let's let this peter out a little bit. We're gonna start hitting no to things. I'm gonna say no to the Talent of the Telepath. I want to freeze this all down a little bit. You'll see that I'm already at my third ability again in the event that I needed to use it again, but I don't. And I'm just gonna keep hitting no because we're gonna have 300 power in goblins, and I feel like that's enough for Koth. Koth doesn't need any more than this. So we're going to hit no, casualty, no. We're just going to keep going. more goblins, because goblins are beautiful. I could just let this keep going, right? Like if I wanted to, I could have my goblins get into the thousands. Easy time. Easy time. But there's no reason for that. So, all right, we got a loop timer coming up. That'll be perfect. Let's let the loop timer stop this and kill our opponent. So we're going to stop the loop timer. We're going to go ahead, freeze everything on down. And I'm just going to take random matches. I don't care what they are. I just want to make the matches so that the game will end and we defeat our opponent. But yeah, super easy. Super duper easy win. So let's go ahead and move into the Pauper Plus gameplay now. For Pauper Plus, we get matched up against Garruk, Cursed Huntsman. That is an entirely terrifying Planeswalker to face. That Planeswalker can just single-handedly win matches. So I'll definitely want to be careful of that. However, as starting hands go, I really like this hand. I've got both of Queza and the Sphinx's Tutelage, and so that'll be really nice for me. I could take the black into green, into white, which is definitely going to be the way to go. Get rid of all of Garruk's mana, right? Like over here, we got black into green, into white in terms of cascades. And then having black and white will enable the cut your losses to go off. So we might actually be able to play most of our hand here. Let's see. Let's see how much of the hand we're able to play here. Should be most of it, I think. Which is super nice. And we get a bunch of loyalty. Wow, this is super ideal. Okay. Cool beans. My opponent gets to go. They get to make a match. Big whoop. And so here you're going to get to see that the first card in my opponent's hand is going to now cost 10 more mana, and I am going to gain 10 life and do 10 damage to my opponent. So here, just the passive alone is just doing some big time work for me. And I've got a bunch of converters in my hand here, which is really, really nice. I like having the converters in my hand. I'm actually going to let this Otawara get destroyed to the activate gem. I want to make sure that there aren't any better matches for me before I do that. Nope. I'm definitely going to take the activated gem match. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to keep my hand here. I know that might seem counterintuitive because then I could just draw more cards, which would be really, really good for me. However, I'm keeping my hand because I have a cut your losses and I want to get my gem converters down. And so those are kind of the cards that I'd want to draw into anyways. I've got no reason to just hold on to them. So actually, I don't need this Echoing Deeps over here. I don't need the Sphinx's Tutelage over here either. So I'm just gonna let crazy happen here a little bit. So we're gonna cut your losses to get a whole bunch more mana. We're already at our third ability, which means that next turn when we draw our 5 cards, we're going to be able to just give them all full mana. I could use my first ability to make the more of the Phyresis tokens, but as you can see, I really don't rely on Jace's abilities beyond the third. Like, the third is really the reason that you're using this Planeswalker. You're not using this Planeswalker for the first ability or the second ability. But you know what? For the purposes of the video, we'll use the first ability to get the 3 tokens down, and then you can see how that goes, right? I might as well showcase everything, even though everything is, well, you know, a little bit suboptimal. So the Sphinx's Tutelage is getting pretty low. I would like it to stay on the battlefield for me a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is take a look at which lands I have out. I do have a Surgical Bay, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and let the Tutelage discard that for me. And that's going to draw another card, which is going to increase the cost of the card in my opponent's hand by even more. You'll notice that my opponent has not played anything this game. My opponent is locked out of playing anything from this silly little Pauper Plus deck. And they're locked out of playing things because I'm drawing so many cards per turn. If you get that early Sphinx's Tutelage down, it just locks your opponent down, especially if they have a creature that they're trying to play. Your opponent, the AI, is going to prioritize playing creatures from their hand. And so my opponent really just can't do anything here at all. Like, they're just completely stuck. I don't even need that Void Rend. That Void Rend is pretty pointless here for me. No reason to take that. Ideally, I'd make a loyalty match here, but I don't actually have any loyalty matches available to me, do I? No, I have one. All right, we'll take the loyalty match. Mana is pointless right now. I don't need the mana. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to definitely let the Hornlock Whale come down just because that's the strongest creature in this deck, sadly. I would love it if that wasn't the case, but it totally is. And so my opponent's able to go ahead and make a match. Doesn't matter at all because their first card... I wish I could see the first card, honestly, and just see how much I've raised the cost of that card, because it's been almost 10 per turn here, and maybe even 12 some turns because of the Sphinx's tutelage. But yeah, it's just like a big nope to my opponent. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to fill my hand with mana again. Boom. You'll see that that's way more than 36. Way more than 36. Like, it's a free fill. It's a free fill for your whole hand, which is just bonkers. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to move Otawara on up. I might as well just play this stuff. It doesn't matter the order that I play it because my opponent is going to lose the game this turn anyways. So we're going to drop Otawara down. We're going to drop the Horn Whale down. We're going to drop Harbinger. We're going to get Queza down. And we defeat Garruk. So that's it for the gameplay. I think that really spoke for itself. I didn't wind up using the second ability, but the second ability is pretty bad. You really need to be in a tough spot in order to run it. Not run it, but use it. But the third ability and the passive really make this Planeswalker what it is. So let's go ahead, check out the Planeswalker in the vault, and get to my conclusion about whether or not I think this Planeswalker is worth you picking up. Presently, Jace the Perfected Mind is available for $30 in the vault. If you wind up picking up Jace the Perfected Mind for money, you'll get the Planeswalker, you'll get some mana crystals, you'll get some mana jewels, you'll get some mana runes. You'll also wind up getting some of these blue booster packs that come with cards that are blue from the Lost Cavern of Ixalan. And it's going to have the traditional booster pack rate in terms of getting new cards. Now, as to whether or not I think that you should pick up the Planeswalker, I think that Jace the Perfected Mind is a very cool Planeswalker. I think that it has selective areas where it's very powerful, and it has one very glaring weakness. The glaring weakness for Jace the Perfected Mind is that it's only going to be as strong as your collection. None of its abilities are going to enable you to win the game based on its own power. Like, Jace doesn't do anything to make your creatures more powerful. It doesn't do anything to deal direct damage to your opponent. It does, however, enable you to draw more cards, and it enables you to get more mana to play more cards. But you can play all the cards in the world. If you don't have good cards, you're not going to win any more effectively, really, with Jace the Perfected Mind than you would with some other Planeswalker that's going to enable you to kill your opponent faster. So I think that if you're a newer player to the game and you don't have a solid collection of blue cards, that you can skip Jace the Perfected Mind this time, as it's really not going to boost your collection in any meaningful way, and you can get a different blue Planeswalker that is going to enable you to defeat your opponents more quickly. If you do have a more established collection, if you are a player who likes playing loop decks, if you're someone who likes just like having the flavor of the month, right? You like collecting the different Planeswalkers. You like testing out different playing styles. Then Jace the Perfected Mind is definitely going to be worth picking up for you. As to whether or not you want to spend $30 or you want to pick it up for 295 mana crystals, it's totally up to you. In terms of tier list, where I would put this, I would say that it's in the high mid range, maybe around A, somewhere between A and B. I'm leaning toward A just because the passive and the third are just so incredibly strong, and I can't discount that loop decks or combo decks are a thing. I think that having just the single color in the color identity takes away from its power as a combo enabler, just having the mono blue. But either way, it's a very powerful Planeswalker because it brings something to the table that we haven't had in the game thus far, and just to such an extent that it's really cool to play with, honestly. So if you're feeling like, oh, I'm not going to get like one of the top Planeswalkers in the game, then you don't need to get it. If you want something new and you want something cool, then get it, right? At the end of the day, it comes down to you, your collection style, all of that. Anyways, that's my analysis on Jace the Perfected Mind. I hope that this was interesting and helpful to you as to whether or not you want to pick up the Planeswalker. And if you don't, at the very least, hopefully you found the showcase of this interesting and cool. If there are any other card interactions or combos or things that you think that I should have mentioned in this video, please go ahead and tell me about that in the comments. I love testing out different things that you guys put in there, and it gives me more opportunities to look into things that maybe I didn't think of. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.